second the motion.
I accept that nomination.
So taking care of that agenda item, we could move.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Kamarian.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Sutton, you're the chair. You
Thank
can
you,
proceed.
I'd like to call to order the Architectural Review Commission public hearing for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022 at 5:30 in the evening. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Sutton. I am a registered architect. Ordinarily, I hold the architectural historian chair, but as we have opened up this meeting, I have been elected as your acting chairman for the evening, and we shall proceed. If you are here to present a project, you will have a limited time to make your presentation. So we suggest that you be thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your presentation should be, and its project should be in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Including your presentation, staff will present their report. We will then ask for public comment. Following your presentation, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as of your presentation. If you are here to speak for or against a project, please state and spell your name clearly. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes go by very quickly. Following public comment, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. Public hearing will then be closed, and only comments which will be allowed after the public hearing is closed will be in response to any questions from the commissioners. The commissioners will then discuss the case and make their decision based on the following: City Ordinance, Chapter 27, City Zoning Code, the design guidelines for the district in question, the Secretary of Interior standards, the Historic Preservation Development Review comments, and testimony given at this public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owners and agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you've not already done so, please silence cell phones. If I may, at this time, I would like to introduce our other commissioners, and I'll start on my left.
Good evening, Ashley DeCubis. I'm an attorney.
John Prokop, I practice architecture.
Dan Myers, I am an architect.
And I would also like to introduce our staff present today. We have Ron Vila, Elaine Lund, and Minta Owen, and our city attorney, Camara Pettis-Mackel. Sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Velum, staff with Historic Preservation. Under announcements, we have none this evening. We took care of the announcements on Monday. And moving to conflicts of interest and ex parte communication, our legal advisor will address the board at this time.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. Will the Commissioners please state whether or not they have any conflicts of interest regarding any of the items that are on the agenda?
No.
I have none.
Additionally, will the Commissioners please state whether or not they've had any ex parte communications regarding any of the items on the agenda?
No.
I've had none.
Thank you.
Moving to continuations, we have one reflected on tonight's agenda, which is ARC 22-229 for the address of 210 East Columbus Drive. This was requested by the agent to continue to the September 7th, 2022 public hearing at 5:30 p.m. If we could get a motion, please.
I move that ARC 22-229, located at 210 East Columbus Drive, be continued to the September 7th, 5:30, 2022 public hearing.
I second the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 None against? Motion carries for the continuation of ARC 22-229.
Thank you, Commissioners. And moving to the swear-in, everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up, raise your right hand, including staff. Ms. Owen will swear us in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, you may be seated.
We are ready for the first agenda item.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin with our first item on the agenda, which would be case number ARC 22-178 for the property located at 5509 North Miami Avenue in the Seminole Heights Historic District.
Good evening, Commissioners. Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. This application in the Seminole Heights Historic District is for new construction for an addition to a primary structure, along with renovations to the structure and site improvements. This is a 1924 residence. It's a contributing structure in the Historic District. And I will move now to the photo presentation. This is the 1920s Sanborn map of the this portion of the Seminole Heights Historic District outlined in red. You can see a couple actually of lines here, which might be a little confusing. However, the block that is here in between Taliaferro and Cherokee Avenues is what is present-day interstate land. You can see here in this map, the subject property is highlighted in green. It is on the east side of Interstate 275 in this small pocket that is part of the Seminole Heights Historic District, just the local district. And then here is the property again outlined in green at the southeast corner of Miami Avenue and Comanche Avenue, just east of the interstate. This is the front of the house. It's a two-story house, however, from the street view with the elevation of the property, only the first story is visible from the sidewalk. Looking from the corner at Comanche and Miami Avenues, this is the north side of the property, and there you can see the rear portion, the second story of the existing structure. This is the south side of the house. And then this is the rear of the primary structure. This is the accessory structure on site. The accessory structure is accessed off of the side street off Comanche Avenue. This is the property just to the south on Miami Avenue. And the property across the street at the other corner of Miami Avenue and Cherokee on the south side. This is looking north. So here the subject property is to your right, and we're looking across Comanche Avenue to the north. This is looking south on Miami Avenue, so the subject property would be to your left. This is looking east along Comanche, so the subject property is to your right. Here we're looking toward Nebraska Avenue. And then finally, here we are looking west, so the subject property is to your left, and we're looking beyond Miami Avenue along Cherokee toward the interstate. That concludes the photo presentation, so at this time I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward and present their request.
Is this okay? I'm not sure how to make it a full screen without the bar. Does anybody know?
Go to view, I think.
Oh, there we go, okay. Full screen map, there we go. All right, thank you. Good evening, my name is Elizabeth Consilia. I'm the co-owner and design principal of Prospect Design Build. This is my wife, Thais Eslick, the general contractor and other co-owner of Prospect Design Build. We are also the homeowners of the property we're discussing tonight at 5509 North Miami Avenue. Thais is a licensed general contractor in the state of Florida and has lived in Seminole Heights for 14 years, in that time restoring 3 historic homes of her own. I did my coursework in urban planning and urban design at Cornell University and worked for the City of New York in housing preservation. In 2017, we founded our practice and have primarily worked in historic structures throughout Tampa. We are also both volunteers for the Seminole Heights Historic Home Tour. Our brick bungalow was built in 1924 by a train conductor and was owned by a single family until we purchased it in 2017. We adore this home and its history. I share these details to underscore our personal and professional commitment to doing a high-quality renovation that is in keeping with the historic character of our home. Additionally, as certified passive house builders, we will be retrofitting the home to be extremely energy efficient and reach passive house standards. As part of the renovation, we are seeking to do 3 small additions, 1 downstairs and 2 upstairs. None of these additions will alter the footprint of the house. This is one site plan. This is another. And the highlighted portions are where the additions will be. As part of the renovation, we are, starting with the upstairs. The first addition we're proposing is in the front or western-facing portion of the house, which will address the awkwardly connected roof lines. I'm going to show you this photo. That are a result of a renovation in the 1970s. This front portion is currently a hallway and enclosed attic, which we would like to better incorporate into the living space. This would allow us to straighten out the exterior wall facing Miami Avenue and create a more natural roof line. So this is existing elevation, proposed front elevation from the north, and back to the existing roof line. With this change, the lower roof line will still expand 21 feet beyond the upstairs roof line and should not significantly alter the front exterior appearance of the home. I also want to note that the interior ceiling in this portion of the upstairs is currently not to code. It follows the roof line but only comes to 6 feet 9 inches. So there is no way without this renovation and addressing this wall and roof line to bring that ceiling to code. Second addition, upstairs above the kitchen. This will expand the upstairs to follow the footprint of the first floor. Existing rear elevation, and then proposed rear elevation. And then from the north again, in the back portion of the house. The third addition, downstairs, would replace the current screens along the side porch with windows to enclose and create additional living space for an office. These are the existing screens. They were added in the 1970s as well. This is the interior. We believe that a fully enclosed space with appropriate windows would be more historically accurate than the current screens. This is from the north. And then these are some examples in our neighborhood. The top one is of Hyde Park, but the other 2 are in Seminole Heights, historic district of enclosed porches. The material palette throughout, existing upstairs, the siding is actually not siding, it is painted shingles. Downstairs we have some vinyl siding above the red scored brick. We're proposing to replace that with 6-inch smooth cedar beveled siding that we would paint, and of course the downstairs brick to remain. The vent, currently the vents are sort of cut into the aluminum siding, or the vinyl siding, and when it is replaced with wood siding, we would include painted wood vents to match. The roof, pretty standard shingles, asphalt shingles. Gutters, we have painted aluminum K-style gutters currently that we would like to replace with galvanized steel, half-round gutters with matching downspout. Overhang materials, all of the overhang materials, rafters, soffits, fascia, decorative gables, and rafter tails are currently covered in the siding or in aluminum wrapping. Once we remove that, we hope to take some architectural cues from what is there, what can be restored, and what needs to be replaced. Of course, it'll all be in wood. We imagine, you know, the gables will look something like what we see here. And the soffits may be sort of beadboard size or larger. Windows and trim. Upstairs, we currently have Florida awning casement windows with a historical bead trim. We're proposing aluminum clad wood casement windows inset 2.5 inches. The divided lights will be added to match the downstairs divided lights. Downstairs, we're doing select window replacement for the windows that are severely damaged from water and termite damage. We have a variety of 4/1, 5/1, and 6/1 wood windows downstairs. They will be the same windows as upstairs with the appropriate divided lights. The window specification, we do have a sample here which will show you. We're proposing Sierra Pacific feel-safe push-out casement windows. They're powder-coated aluminum clad. They're made in a traditional style. And again, the divided lights will be accurate to what currently exists. We are leaving the front door, but the back door is a 1970s steel door with security bars. We propose to do a Sierra Pacific all wood outswing door and to stain that door. Porch materials, there's painted beadboard. It's in pretty rough shape. We would like to replace it with the same material, but to stain that, stained cedar beadboard. Hardware and lighting, we will leave the historic replica sconces in the front. We're not proposing doing any other lighting there. And the back doorknob is a replica that matches the front. Enclosure materials, as part of our passive house retrofit, we are going to be enclosing the crawl space to keep moisture out. And we will be closing these vents with matching brick, and we have a sample here to show you, just in those vent openings, but we don't have any type of trellis or anything like that. The brick goes all the way to the ground. I'll now turn it over to Thais to talk about the sections.
Good evening. My name is Thais Eslick. I'm a general contractor, certified passive house tradesperson and owner at 5509 North Miami Avenue. I guess my portion here is to talk about the wall sections. Thank you. Okay. Existing wall section, pretty straightforward. We have 2x8 rafters and secured ceiling by a 2x6 ceiling joist, and no insulation in the walls, no insulation in the floor joists, and no insulation in the crawl space. We are proposing to raise the ceiling to follow the roof line there, and filling it with, I believe it was R38 is what was spec'd. Maybe R30. Rock wool insulation, following down the wall with, also with rock wool insulation, and wrapping the house with R5 continuous foam board insulation. We will also want to encapsulate the crawl space with proper vapor barrier and insulation, and condition that space as well. Yeah, so the main focus for our home is to create just a more comfortable, healthier space for our family, and the best way to achieve that, we think, is through passive house building standards. So think that's it for me. Gonna open it up for questions now.
This is we spent a lot of time trying to find the matching brick. Of course, we want it to, wherever we need to do repairs, and when we enclose the crawl space vents, it of course needs to match the very particular scored dark brick that we have. So that's what we propose. And then this window is incredibly heavy, I'm sorry. It is Clad Window, and we are proposing to do casement because they're more energy efficient. But from the outside, it'll have divided lights. It'll resemble something like a 4/1 or a 2/1, depending on where it is in the house. But it will be a casement window. Thank you.
Commissioners, Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. That completes the applicant's presentation. Then staff finds that the application is consistent with the Seminole Heights Design Guidelines. There were a few conditions listed in the staff report. I think they have been, the majority of them have been addressed. I am was a little curious about the flare of the second-story siding over the first-story masonry finish. But aside from that, I have no other comments, so I'm available if you have questions. Thank you.
Commissioners will be now available for questions.
We have to do public comment.
Excuse me, my error, please. Is there any one here prepared to give comment for or against this project? Hearing none and seeing none, we will proceed to questioning. Mr. Myers, we'll start with you.
So the flare where your siding meets the brick, can you explain how you intend to do that?
So we have on the plans, let's pull it up here, spec'd a 1-inch rain screen, and we have found a product that will drop that down to a 1/2-inch rain screen. So I believe with that, yeah, I think he spec'd a 1-inch rain screen here, and I believe dropping that down to a 1/2-inch rain screen, we should be able to create a curvature here that still resembles the flare. Right now, the flare is about 1.5 inches, and so we would be 1 inch instead of 1.5 inch flare. Well, that's what dropping the siding down to whatever height from the ground that the siding is now, the roof shingle siding. I mean, that's something we could definitely talk about, how to achieve that.
And it seems that so you've got foam board continuous insulation, then you have the wall sheathing taped and rolled on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a rain screen.
Mm-hmm.
And why does the wood siding not serve as the rain screen?
Well, the wood-to-wood connection, it just creates a better area for drying when you do have a rain screen. That's just the way our designer would like us to build it, creating, just an area where air could pass through, even if it is just a 1/2 inch. Putting the wood on wood, while it might dry, it just gives it a better chance to dry if you do have that separation.
Okay, so this is actually, the rain screen is a is a space.
It's a space, yes.
Okay, I didn't get that to start with.
Sorry.
Okay, now I've got it, all
Terrible
right.
at this.
Okay, so, yeah, so that's pretty standard, so then you just put some, lath every, whatever it is,
Yeah. I
30
think-
inches or something, and then you just
Yes,
nail the siding to that.
yes.
Okay, all right, I have no further questions.
Please continue.
I'll continue along that vein precisely. If we're looking at trying to maintain that 1.5 inch, and could you bring up a photo of that, by the way?
The
And
existing.
don't lose this shot here, but can we bring up a photo of the existing cant even though it's in shingles, which I
Yeah.
understand isn't ideal.
Oh, so, let's see. Maybe, no? Oh. Can you see it there okay? It's probably the best one we have.
Okay, that looks considerably more than 1.5 inches.
It's 1.5 inches off the brick. Once it touches the brick, it stays 1.5 inches off the brick.
Is there any way you could zoom in on that? 'Cause, I mean, this looks like a foot-tall,
How do I?
30-degree flare here.
Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know how. I'm a Mac user. Do you know how to zoom in?
No.
If you hit escape, and then you should be able to,
Oh, go to the view. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So, wait, I need to go to
and then
the,
just use your arrows up and down.
right,
to the
there we
next
go.
one.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So the shingles do come over the brick. I'm guessing because there was no insulation here. We believe this was a sleeping porch. They were trying to get the water, off and do what they could. We're fine doing whatever is historically appropriate here. It feels more like this was kind of something they were trying to do because they were using these materials, using shingles and overlapped it with the brick.
Well, it seems to me that the second floor wall is recessed
Right.
I see what you mean.
fairly considerably from the face of the brick.
Yeah.
And all I was suggesting is that in your new wall section, is there any way you're just resheathing this wall. You're not building a new wall here, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And you're adding thickness
Right.
by adding the foam, adding
Yeah.
the rain screen, you're adding everything, and you're eliminating this entire feature.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
But it does look as though there's quite a bit of slope there. And
Cant,
so,
yeah.
yeah, there's quite a bit of cant, so they're actually probably not eliminating it entirely.
Yeah, it looks like we're
it's maybe like
adding
4 or 5 inches, and they're reducing it by,
3.5
third to a half.
inches.
Yeah, it's going from maybe 4 or 5 inches to 1 inch.
Yeah, so we're adding like 1.5 inches for the foam, about 3/4 for the
For the
for the
furring.
sheathing. We have 1/2 inch for the rain screen, and then another 3/4 inch for the siding.
Yeah.
Maybe 1/2 inch, so we're at 4.25.
You'd have to reframe all the windows, everything, right? All the casing would have to be redone. The windows are in a different plane now than they are in this.
Well,
By
that
putting
is-
so much on the exterior face of the wall,
Mhm.
you're changing the depth of the window openings and,
That is something we would like to do, is create more of a historic look on the windows, have them inset 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches to match the downstairs, because right now they're flat against that shingle wall.
okay.
So that is something we would like to do, and we are having to reframe all the windows anyway.
Do we know when this was built?
The upstairs is original, but
It
we
is
will.
original also?
It's original, it's on the original Sanborn map that we found, unless somebody found something else, but when we bought the house, we took a look at the Sanborn map. So it was there, it was always a two-story residence. We
Is the
assume-
shingle an original?
We don't think so, but we can't, we
Finished
tried with the
material?
family to, I don't think these shingles were there. They did a renovation in the late sixties, early seventies, and that's what this looks like.
And the reason you're adding so much insulation to the exterior facade is to, I understand tight houses and going beyond what can be held within the wall framing itself. And you don't want to add it to the inside face of the wall because that's another alternative.
Yeah, I guess it's that foam sheathing does help with the moisture, and I guess best practice is having it on the outside, right against your sheathing there, but I mean, if we could come up with a number that you guys are happy with this flare, I'm happy to do it. Just give me my exterior sheathing or insulation.
And the exterior insulation is how thick? I'm sorry.
1.5 inches. It will be an R5. Actually, we could probably go for a 1/2 inch R5, R4.5. That would meet our.
You can get a 1/2 inch in R4.5?
R.5.
In what?
In pink stuff.
Sure.
Is it, no, I'm just asking, because I think it's R5 or R6 per inch for polyiso, and then it's less for EPS. I don't know, I guess we want to see something,
Yeah.
and a 1/2 inch of a
That's
little
fair.
kink isn't, 1/2 inch won't read at all.
Sure.
If that's all that's left. If we can figure out a way to refine that wall section a little bit, maybe go with an inch board, and a 5/8 sheathing rather than a 3/4 sheath. I mean, just little increments so that, and staff, you can go on this, in order for that cant to read
Sure.
somehow.
Or perhaps that cant needs to move a little bit further out.
Yeah.
It could
Overhang the
go
brick.
a
Right.
little beyond the brick also, I think. It doesn't necessarily have to end flush with the
Right.
brick. It go a little bit beyond the brick, so
I think
just
that
so
would
that it
be better.
reads, that's all.
Right.
And I don't want to, you can work that out. I know you
Yeah.
can work that out.
That's fair.
The only other thing I had a question of, have you removed any of the aluminum covering on any of the brackets yet to
We're
date?
scared.
Just to see what's there? Or you're terrified?
I want to all the time, and I'm told
You're
I'm not allowed
terrified,
to
okay.
touch it.
Not
And
until they
then-
say yes.
The other question I had is, or I guess it's basically, it's not necessarily, when you're filling in the recesses in the vents down in the brick, in the crawl space, are you considering flushing them out or recessing them a little bit so that the vents can still read, but,
Yeah.
and without, it doesn't destroy them,
Yeah.
That would
you
be,
know,
yeah,
if
fine.
they're recessed a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea,
All right.
yeah.
That's all I have.
It's easier too.
I don't have any questions.
So,
I have a couple questions about your crawl space. I understand where you're going to in terms of your passive house concept and enclosing and conditioning that, or at least dehumidifying the crawl space. However, question point, I live with a crawl space too. Have you had a really good, serious look at what's in there? And do you have, or are you planning an access point into that crawl space?
We are.
Because I have a plethora of plumbing
Oh, yeah.
and electrical work and data and communications and spare parts in mine. And it's become very handy for those repairs. Closing it off forever is going to be a big problem.
Right. With the brick going all the way to the ground like that, we hold so much moisture in there. No one can actually go in comfortably. We can't store anything down there. It's
Oh,
wet.
no.
It's dark. That's one of the reasons why we do want to condition that, dehumidify the crawl space to make it more usable. If we have a plumbing issue, we can go down there without paying extra for someone to crawl into a dark hole.
So you will have an access door
Oh,
somewhere?
yes, yes. We have 2 access points right now. We're gonna close one up and keep one in the back. That's a little more accessible.
All of our plumbing is down there and will
Mhm.
continue to be,
Yeah.
but also so are rats and other things, right? So we're trying to mitigate
Vermin.
that, yeah.
We love vermin. Could we go back and take a look at your elevations? I think it's your north elevation, I think is more telling for
Sure,
what you have for your proposal,
sure.
both existing and for your proposed new work.
So let's see, this is the north existing. And then proposed,
So you're enclosing the, if you will, that outboard wing of your porch for living space?
I'm sorry, repeat that, I just couldn't hear you.
Can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, you were enclosing that outboard corner of your porch for living space?
Yeah, it currently has screens that
Mhm.
are not here, but yes, so it's sort of half enclosed right now.
And can we toggle back to your proposal? I'd like to see how that second story expansion melds.
Here. I
Thank you very much.
can. Mhm.
Mr. Myers?
Do you have the same flare all the way around the house, or is it only on the back? Because I can only see it on the back, which is a strange thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're probably, you're going to have to deal with this brick to frame
Yeah,
condition. And I believe that the insulation wants to be continuous on the outside of the studs, so you have fewer thermal breaks. I think that's the deal, right? The only thing that you're losing, and this is extraordinarily common in Tampa, right? Everybody used to sleep in a sleeping porch. Now we condition that space. You have, and nobody has been using your sleeping porches as sleeping porches for decades because you have these aluminum windows in there.
We're on a sleeping porch right now.
Right.
there's no
but
insulation.
Right, but but there are these huge windows,
Right.
right? And so you're taking away all the windows, which is, I understand it completely, and I'm not complaining about it, right? But it, in my perfect world, it might be a nice thing to keep, maybe even just one set. I don't know. But that's not, I'm
Yeah.
speaking from a design,
Sure.
from a preservationist point of view, which is not what is entirely required here, particularly since the windows do no longer exist in any form that we could accept. You've got these aluminum awning windows, so they're out of here.
We talked about clustering them to make it feel more of like a sleeping porch, but it also felt a little heavy on one side and then a little light on the other.
It's difficult to put walls
Yeah.
up in the space
Mhm.
with how the windows are clustered. And as Thais is saying, clustering it on one side but not the other. Yeah.
I know what
Yeah,
you mean though.
I understand,
we
yeah,
felt the same way.
okay. But that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question. On this elevation that's up here, there is a line missing, isn't there? Those two, the second floor addition on top of the first floor is not, they're not flush with each other, right?
Oh, are
Second
they?
floor addition, yes,
They're flush.
they are.
No, it's flush with the first floor. But is it flush with the sidewall? Because there's a
Yes.
line in the brick wall here, and they're not a line on the second floor.
Yeah, you're right. The line down below, and it might be, it is flush in reality. Here, let's see if I can.
You know what it was? That was, originally,
Okay,
it looked
here.
like it
Wall
was
here.
open, maybe like a mudroom that was open, and then they closed up all that brick.
Okay, so it is flush with the sidewall.
Right.
Flush.
Then go back to the elevation, please. Yeah, there. What I would suggest, because it looks awkward, is a corner board, a vertical
Oh, sure.
board coming up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Where the old
Yeah.
corner of the house was,
Right.
I don't know how to describe.
Mark that. Yeah, I know
to-
exactly what you
To
mean.
delineate, because there's corner
Sure.
boards on all these corners.
Right.
And they're not
Right.
shown on the elevations, but it would make sense to have a corner board there to separate that new second floor
Right.
addition from the original corner of the
Okay.
house.
Yes,
Okay?
that makes sense.
All right. That's it. Little things.
I like that.
Is there any further questioning? You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you.
Rebuttal declined. This public hearing at this point is now closed, and we'll be opening up the table for commentary. Would you like to start?
I don't really have anything. I do have, I wrote down as far as conditions, just working with staff on the flare.
In the corner board work?
Corner board and the vent, that you mentioned,
Recess.
the recess vents.
I think that's about it.
You, sir, have any comment?
I have no real comment. It's a difficult little house with the geometry of that house is a little bit hard to work with. And I think, again, this is always our discussion here. Anything people are doing to make the house better and save the house and preserve the house and improve the house, is always, I think, our task to encourage. And taking vinyl siding off and putting wood on and uncovering brackets, going to all that extent is something I think we want to encourage, even though there are some technical aspects of you wanting to add exterior wall thickness and that kind of thing with insulation. But I just think that'll make the house last longer and be a part of the neighborhood for an even longer period of time. So,
Mr. Myers?
No, I think the project is very well conceived. We tend to, because it is so well conceived, we can make these very minor comments and move on. So I think that we're ready to give this one a pass. An approval. I am ready to give it.
You're ready to give it to
Me
approval.
too.
I will close with my comment, and I'd like to thank you all very much for a very sensitive imposition onto this historic structure. Ordinarily, we see additions that do all sorts of things, including dwarfing what is the existing historic structure. I think this is a very well thought out plan for making this a better domicile for yourselves while also respecting the existing fabric. Do I have a motion for this proposal at this time?
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 22-178 for the property located at 5509 North Miami Avenue, with the following conditions. That the applicant work with staff for approval on the flare on the upper part of the house, the recess vents, and add the corner board to the back addition. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the, Seminole Heights Historic District design guidelines of the city of Tampa for the following reasons. That the use of the materials are common to the district, and the link between the old and new construction is compatible with the historic building, and you're maintaining a quality within the district.
Do I have a second for this motion?
I'll second.
Ladies and gentlemen, all those in favor of this motion, please state and raise your hand in affirmative. Aye?
Aye.
Against? None. Motion passes for accepting the certificate of appropriateness for the case of ARC 22-178 for the property located at 5509 North Miami Avenue. Shall proceed.
Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is going to be ARC 22-255 at the location of 307 East Amelia Avenue in the Tampa Heights Historic District. There was a request for a variance request in this case, as well as a request for a certificate of appropriateness. As we move into the applicant's presentation for the variance request, I will begin with the photo presentation. This is the 1920 Sanborn map showing the location of the property in green. You'll notice it is on the south side of Amelia Avenue between Morgan and Jefferson Streets. It is about 2 blocks south of what was originally known as the Michigan Avenue Grammar School, now the Tampa Heights Elementary School. And you can see the existing primary structure that is still there today on the site, the wood frame house shown in yellow on the map. This is the district map showing the boundaries of the local historic district in red and the boundaries of the National Historic District in blue. And the present day aerial, again, with the property highlighted in green on the south side of Amelia Avenue. And you can see how the school property to the north has now encompassed the block that was formerly just to the south of the school as well. This is the front of the existing structure. This is the east side of the house. And this is the existing driveway condition on that side. This is on the west side of the property. And this is the rear of the existing house. This is the structure just to the east, non-contributing residence. And the structure to the west. And then directly across the street, you have the view of the rear of the elementary school. This view is looking east along Amelia Avenue toward Jefferson Street. And then this view is looking west along Amelia Avenue toward Morgan Street. And the subject property here would be on your left. That concludes the photo presentation. At this time, the applicant will begin the presentation for the variance request portion of this case.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Good evening. My name is Daniel Perdomo. I am co-owner of 307 East Amelia, along with my wife, Aura Guerrero. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today as we couldn't find assistance in care for our 4-year-old son, who was very active, and I'm sure would have had a great time here tonight. So on behalf of her and I, we would like to present or propose plan for our home, which we acquired in 2018, and we have done some improvements as we originally got it, and now we found, given the zoning, we can potentially add another unit to this to our home. Okay. So to this image here, you have the sort of existing site plan. The home, it's kind of original 1907 property and somewhat skewed, not in alignment with the site. But we haven't done anything since we acquired it in terms of additions or the changes to the footprint. I'm gonna put it on a side by side with the proposed structure, which is right back here. We had some driveway flare to the back of the property to be able to access a two-car garage from the rear alley. This would be the south elevation from the alleyway, east and west elevation, and then the north elevation looking from our backyard. These elevations show further detail regarding construction materials, floor plans. First floor, two-car garage, storage area.
Excuse me, Ms. Lund, is the applicant going over the variance portion first before the certificate of appropriateness detail?
The variance request, yes, should not focus so much on the details of the
Understood.
particular project.
So I'll just cut straight to the point. The variance here is a request for rear setback of, I don't know if you guys can see, but is reducing the setback to 10 feet from 20 feet. And the height from 15 feet of the structure to 25 feet. So the accessory structure limits 15 feet height maximum, and the height that we're proposing is 25 feet, which would be 10 feet larger than that. Those are our two variances. One is the setback from 20 to 10, and the height from 15 to 25.
Do you have your hardship criteria?
Yes, I do. Would you like me to read that out loud? Will do. Hardship criteria is the alleged hardship of practical difficulties are unique and singular with respect to the property or with respect to a structure or building thereon are not those suffer in common with other properties or structure. Their response to the chapter 27, section 27.114. The current distance between the existing primary house and the proposed accessory structure does not leave necessary space for the allowed structure. In keeping with the historical precedence and location of additional structures on a lot such as this one, we need a variance for a reduction to the rear setback of the improved alley. Hardship number 2.
You don't have to read this, we just need your response.
Understood. The hardship does not result from the actions of the owner applicant. The property was acquired by the owner in 2017 with the inherent house. The tree locations in the back alley, which date back to 1907. The variance, number 3, the variance will not substantially interfere with or ensure the health, safety, or welfare of those other properties will be affected by allowance of the variance. Variance will allow neighbors to continue to keep and enjoy their properties and privacy. Number 4, the variance is in harmony and serves in general intent of the purpose of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan because the proposed structure will not impose a change in the neighborhood since there are similar structures and the proposed design is in keeping with the historical character of the neighborhood. Number 5, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, allowing the owner a better functional use of the property to meet the needs while also respecting and maintaining the privacy of our neighbors. Number 6, yes, the variance complies with the characteristics of historic neighborhood and has consistent design and patterns with surrounding properties.
Does that conclude your presentation on the variance portion of your application?
Yes, sir.
Staff? Wrong button. Does the staff have a report on this?
Commissioners, Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. Staff does not report on the findings for variance requests, as this is a finding of fact for the board to complete.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment for or against this project? Hearing none and seeing none, we will proceed with the commissioners asking questions. We'll start on my right with Mr. Myers.
And then the questions, just a reminder, are only in regards to the variance portion. Okay.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for staff. I am uncertain whether or not this falls under the category of an accessory dwelling unit.
This property, Commissioners, is zoned RM24, which, according to the memo that we received from one of the urban planners who reviews for zoning issues with our applications, that the RM24 zoning district allows for one residential unit per 1,815 square feet of land, as long as there is a minimum of 5,000 square feet for the development in total. This residential unit is allowed as the site is 7,560 square feet, which is larger than the 5,000 required. And there's obviously more than 1,815 square feet per unit available here. The second dwelling unit must meet the primary structure setbacks. In this zoning category, the rear setback requirement is 20 feet, which is why the applicant is requesting the variance from 20 to 10 feet for the rear yard.
Okay, so the accessory dwelling unit is permitted. But
It would be considered a secondary dwelling unit or a second dwelling unit?
Okay, so the zoning permits this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir?
You've used the term in your presentations, saying that the size of the lot does not allow, quote unquote, the necessary space between the primary residence and the secondary residence. What's that necessary space dimension? What does that mean?
Well, I was alluding to the necessary setbacks.
No, your presentation said there's not enough necessary space between the existing house and the proposed new structure.
I apologize.
But that's why you were asking for the reduction, is because you couldn't put this new second structure closer to the primary residence because the site doesn't allow the necessary space.
Right, so, I will make a comment as to why I wrote that. And, before, or in the interim of submitting this document, we had also, submitted this to Natural Resources. And I have two big trees here on site, which we had Natural Resources go out on site and authorize the removal of these trees, as the trees were not deemed protective trees.
Okay,
So, that's no longer an issue anymore.
okay, so that the new proposed addition can be moved closer to the primary residence? Was that the result of those trees getting taken down?
Part of it is, but part of it is also, this is a separate unit, and we would like to be able to keep a distance between that unit and our home. Our argument was at first to keep the trees, that
Right,
obviously became non-existent after they're allowed to remove them.
right.
But, at this point, it's
Which
more
was
of-
the hardship?
Which was the hardship, yes,
So
sir.
there is no hardship. It's just your preference now. There's no hardship anymore for moving the structure closer to your primary residence. It's just your preference that you don't do that. But it's not a hardship anymore. Is that correct?
Technically, you're correct, sir, yes.
Also, to add a secondary residence or a structure to the back of the property, you can do that in one story. It's a one-story apartment, basically, but you're asking for it to be 2 stories and exceed the height of the zoning, and ask for a variance because you want to build a garage for multiple cars underneath it. But that's not a hardship either. That's your choice, correct? It's your choice to build a multi-car garage underneath this secondary residence.
Yeah, it is my choice. I could not have a garage if I don't have to, if I don't need it, but
Right, but you could build this, this is a one-story residence, but you're putting it up on the second story of a property or of a building to put cars and whatnot underneath it. You could not use, I'm just trying to find out what the hardship is, because to me, you could build this second residence, this second, I guess it's called a residence, right? It's a secondary proposed residence. You could build it at 1 story and not ask for a variance, but it's your choice to put a garage underneath it, and that's why you're asking for the height variance. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any questions either, unless there is some other reason or fact that you might have for the variance. Like the trees would have been a reason, a hardship.
Yeah, the trees would have been a hardship. I mean, obviously, there's a need as a homeowner. I've lived in this neighborhood now for 6 years. My family has grown. I have a 4-year-old and got all kinds of junk that I need to put away somewhere. I'm not developing this. I'm, a city of Tampa resident that is growing into a small home. I got older family members too that I'm gonna need to think about, parents and in-laws, and that's my thinking behind this. So
we
I
understand.
have neighbors too. I mean, I've got some evidence of, some neighbors that right down the street on Morgan Street are doing like 2-story with garage underneath, and
It's upside down.
I apologize.
That's okay.
This is
So
the
we
newly built-
understand that, and you can definitely put a structure there. You have to just live inside the zoning and those setbacks, because there is no hardship on this property. Like staff mentioned before, it's a very, very fact-driven decision. It's black and white, so either you can or you can't. There is a hardship or there's not.
I would also, suggest that, I have elderly parents. I designed their house for them. They don't live on the second story of a building where they have a long stairway to go up. They actually live on the ground floor of a ranch, very accessible. And that's part of, having elderly people, move into your property is that.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't see, there's no hardship.
Right, and we're not granting the variance does not mean that you can't build the home. You just have to move it within the setbacks.
Okay?
Okay.
I would like to continue the questioning, please. First, I'd like to start with staff. The other part of this variance request is one for the building height. Typically, an accessory structure height is limited to 15 feet, but there is some accommodation within the regulations for this historic district to permit in some manner a greater height. Can staff discuss that, please?
Within the local and national historic districts, there is a provision in the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances to allow a 50% increase in the height of accessory structures so that would be from 15 feet, which is the normal height limit, to 22.5 feet.
22.5. So, sir, with the proposal of a two-story building that you have for us this evening, you have a pitched roof. Can you explain to us in what manner you decided to create a roof line and a roof height of such a height as to exceed what would be normally permitted in this district? Could it not in itself be configured in a manner to be shorter?
It can, sir, yeah. It was more aesthetics, I guess, no actual intent to exceed the height for, wanting to exceed the height. It was more of the aesthetics, and we can compromise and reduce that.
I have no further question. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any additional question at this time?
I have none.
None. The applicant is allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal to our questioning in this first part of this hearing with respect to the variances requested. Do you have any comment or rebuttal to any of our questions?
I do not.
Having none, this hearing is now closed, and the commissioners will discuss this case. I'll start on my left, please.
Is there anything to discuss? Do you want me to just make a motion?
If we make a motion, I believe that then the project cannot come before us again.
That's not correct.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
This is a variance of yeah, this is the variance.
It's just the variance portion.
Setbacks and heights.
Right.
So he'll just have to come back for the CA.
Yeah, and this is advisory to the city council.
Mhm.
Now, granted, for certificate of appropriateness that would follow, that would be predicated upon either the acceptance or the acceptance for a recommendation for or a recommendation against the requested variances.
So, just to clarify, Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the City Attorney's Office, your parameters are only to determine whether or not the applicant has met the hardship criteria. If you determine that the applicant has not met the hardship criteria, then the certificate of appropriateness will be heard at a different date.
Right.
And that's the parameters in which you're here to discuss,
Okay.
to determine.
I believe we understand.
Okay, we're good? I move that the variance requested for ARC 22-255 for the property located at 307 East Amelia Avenue for a for a variance for a height increase from 15 to 25 feet and a rear yard setback from 20 to 10 with an encroachment of 2 feet for eaves and gutters be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria as set forth in section 27-114D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, specifically that no hardship exists and the massing and building form is not consistent with the district.
Do I have a second to this motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second in hand. All those in favor for the denial of the, excuse me, all those in favor for the denial of the recommendation for the variances,
All those in favor of the motion.
say aye.
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 Against, say no. Okay. Variance requests for case ARC 22-255 is not recommended to the city council.
No, it's denied.
Is denied.
Yeah. It's denied.
I don't have my sheet.
The next available ARC hearing would be on October 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
I move to grant a continuance in case ARC, 22-255 for the property located at 307 East Amelia Avenue to the public hearing at 5:30 on,
It was October 3rd.
thank you, October 3rd, 2022,
And that's regarding the certificate of appropriateness.
for the certificate of appropriateness only.
Do I have a second for that motion, please?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Continuance granted.
Are you,
Okay.
no, there's only, it's a motion to continue. Can you have
Okay.
a vote on that?
No, I'm sorry. We just denied the request.
variance.
We denied the variance.
There's still a certificate of appropriateness pending. That's gonna be continued to another hearing date.
Okay. I will vote for the continuance. No.
Thank you very much.
I have 5 minutes to go.
Can you have a motion to recess, can you recess for 5 minutes?
I move that we recess for 5 minutes.
I second that motion.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We will return in 5 minutes. August 3rd, 2022.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff for Historic Preservation. Our next agenda item, which is our last item, is ARC 22-273. This is for the address of 330 Hyde Park Avenue. It is in the Hyde Park Local Historic District. Currently, it's a vacant parcel. The underlying zoning is a PD, and the request in front of you this evening is for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction for a 3-story apartment building with site improvements. To give you some past history on this parcel, in February 2022, this did receive a favorable recommendation from this governing body and was forwarded to City Council. City Council had 2 readings, the first reading in February and the second one in March, approving the recommendation from this board moving forward. I just want to read from the design guidelines, page 61. This is your charge this evening, is that the design guidelines do not dictate style, but they do set up criteria under which new construction can be accurately compared to the setting in the historic district. New construction is encouraged to be unique in design while reflecting the basic scale and style of Hyde Park District. On page 3 of your staff report as well, the application of standards, when the PD came forward and you gave a favorable recommendation to City Council, on the lower portion of page 3, the scale, the massing, the setback, the orientation, and the rhythm, alignment, and spacing was established at that time. So on the staff report, I had stated that there's 11 criteria that for compatible new construction, and that's what your focus is tonight, from 6 through 11, as the presentation moves forward. Briefly, to go through the photo presentation, I'd like to start out with the Sanborn map from 1929. Property in question is highlighted in the green parcel. It does front Hyde Park Avenue. There is no alley that runs behind this particular block. Hyde Park is a one-way street from Platt as it goes into Davis Island. The north is to the top of this illustration. This is just showing a current area. Once again, property in question is highlighted in the green box. There still is no alley. There wasn't an alley in 29. There is no alley currently here. You see Hyde Park Avenue here. And then from above, you see some trees that will factor into tonight's discussion. This is looking into the parcel from Hyde Park Avenue. This is the perimeter fence that is currently there. As you get into the property, behind the fence, there is a featured tree that was sensitively looked at, and the footprint of the structure that was PD'd took this in consideration. And this is a closer shot of that grand tree, and then you see the massing of the building to the east, or the abutting property line there. There's some wonderful fabric that's along Hyde Park Avenue. This is the abutting property to the north. This is the abutting property to the south. A couple of street shots. This is looking down Hyde Park Avenue. There is some parallel parking on that street. It's a one-way street, as you see here, coming in to the island. Just continuing from the parcel, looking to the entrance to Davis Island, and to conclude is directly across the street, so you get the environment and the feeling for what the surrounding properties have. I showed you what's to the north, to the south, and across the street. That concludes the photo presentation. At this time, the agent will address the board.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time and listening to this case. My name is Alex Andriakos with Design Styles Architecture, the agent representing Brent Balch, the owner of this property. We presented this project to you earlier this year for the PD rezoning of the project, and I'd like to summarize that here a little bit for you at the beginning here. That site plan was approved with some conditions. We were to minimize, which I will go over here shortly. We were to minimize the vehicular opening of the building. We were to add a 6-foot perimeter wall around the building because of the use-to-use buffer, except at this large oak tree that Ron had mentioned towards the rear of the building. And then, we were to add a note to the site plan to give the ARC the ability to adjust setbacks up to 5 feet for addition of elements to create architectural features. So one of the bigger components of this was to preserve the existing trees on site. There are 3 large trees, which I'll show you here shortly. And I'll just go over quickly some of the high-level components of this project. So this is a 3-story residential multifamily building that will be focused mostly on students for the university locally. It's 2 floors of residences over surface parking, 6 units in total, 13,000 square feet. And the style is a contemporary style of architecture with material usage to call back to the local vernacular of architecture within the context. Some of the project features that I would like to highlight is on-site dedicated parking. Because of the lack of alley access to this building, we were not able to find an easy way for in and out, so we were kind of constrained on the site, so we integrated parking onto the site. Due to the nature of the building program, we incorporated secure resident access. There's bicycle storage. We incorporated shared interior study spaces for the students. The large tree canopy in the rear enabled us the ability to create some shaded lounge areas, and we decided, the owner of the property is also a landscape architect, so we decided to incorporate some generous landscaping to soften the building. Some of the materials and details that were featured in this building that you'll see are some pervious pavers in order to help with drainage within the building, and then we use some brick, hardy, and stucco to create some breakdown of the massing of the building and some variation. I just wanted to show you some pictures real quick. I know Ron showed some pictures of the site, but I wanted to there we go. Yeah. So real quick, just wanted to zoom out a little bit. I know Ron showed some pictures, but this is, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Hyde Park Avenue and the district, but this is just showing a shot, a little bit wider angle of the site. The site is actually just behind this large sign for the Tampa General and Davis Island. This is the property just to the north of that blue house that he showed. You'll see the heavy tree canopy, the large tree that sits in front of that house. The site is quite obscured from vehicular and pedestrian traffic. So, and here's a little bit closer of a shot showing, this large tree at the northwest corner of the property that the intent is to save that tree. This is a shot from looking south on the sidewalk on Hyde Park. You'll notice the large 5-story apartment building directly across the street that this property will face. And here's a little bit closer of a shot of the large tree on the west corner of the property with the intention of saving. Here's a little bit closer of a shot of the large very massive oak tree to the back of the property corner that pushed this building forward, which informed the site plan with this large commercial building on the backside. And then here's one more photo that I will show you really quickly of another large, very, very large tree with the intention of saving. So really quickly, this is the approved site plan. No modifications have been made to this since we presented this to you earlier this year. This is showing the large oak tree to the east side of the site, which pushed the building forward. This is the oak tree in the rear, and then here's this tree in the front of the building that we intend to save. This is showing the entry off of Hyde Park. On here is also the perimeter wall, 6-foot CME wall that will be around the building. The intent is to create some buffer with some crepe myrtles and some other landscaping that you'll see in a future site plan. And then this also shows the pervious pavers. I have some more illustrations here that I'll show you as we go forward. So here's a little bit more of an illustrative plan that shows a little bit more detail as to how the intent of this first floor, this ground floor with parking, entry and exit for vehicular access here, male access for the residents, stair towers on the corners with elevators here, showing the trees on the corners there, showing the landscaping along with the trees on the edges here for additional buffer with the wall around, showing the wood fence just at the base of this tree to preserve the roots of this tree, as well as the reduced entry here. We're showing this pulling of the setback here with the 10-foot setback here, the 5-foot setbacks on each side, and the 15-foot setback at the front. This is a typical floor plan, second floor with the 3 units, with a study lounge, the 2 stairs with the elevator. This is the same thing for the 3rd floor, and then we'll go around the building with the elevations, illustrated elevations here. This is showing, it's a little dark on this screen, but so the intent here is the material usage. What we're doing here is using a combination of stucco, hardy board siding, and brick. Using brick to ground the building, using a variation of colors with scored stucco, and then using hardy board with hardy edge, using metal coping and details on the top, and then we're using a metal awning along with metal awnings here. Come around the back of the building. This is showing the tree here and how it's affected this elevation. Also showing the open exterior corridors with views out to the tree here. Showing this stair tower, or this is the elevator tower, excuse me, and then this is the stair tower clad in brick. Showing this 6-foot perimeter wall and trying to give it some transparency with some horizontal slatting. This is showing the wood fence going around the tree here. This is the north elevation. This would be Hyde Park. This would be the east side of the building with the large tree. This is showing the various material usage and the massing and how we're trying to break it up the long side of the building. This would be facing the blue structure to the north of the building. This would be the large stair tower that faces Hyde Park. And then this is the south elevation. Once again, this is Hyde Park. This is the east side of the building with the large tree. Once again, showing the variation use of materials with the hardy plank, stucco, with this mass element here pulling out, and then variation materials. So this is a conceptual rendering of looking from Hyde Park south towards the building, seeing that this large sign would obscure some of the building, but maintaining the tree here. I tried to get a view of the building. I don't actually think you would see this much of the building because this tree is so massive it actually blocks, so I tried to pull the tree back so you could see some of this. But based on the photos you saw earlier, it would probably be obscured quite a bit by the trees. Here's a little bit more of a front angle showing the brick at the base, showing a full light front door, which would probably be a masonite front door, using Pella wood clad windows, along with once again hardy siding, and this brow with the Hyde Park signage. And then here's a little bit more of a descriptive rendering, showing all the details here, with the parapet, our stair tower, which would be an open air stair with our awnings, showing the pervious pavers. We would use various landscaping elements to soften the base of the building for the pedestrian experience. And then this is showing a 6-foot perimeter wall surrounding the building. Here are some photo examples of various products used. This is a masonite half-light door that the owners actually used on another building not too far from this site. So this is a real-world example. This is a wood-clad window that's actually used in the district, not too far from the site, with some detailing that would be similarly used within the project, along with some very similar hardy siding. This is actually that same project with some hardy siding edge board. This is an example of parapet cap that we would intend to use. These are once again shots of two other projects that are projects that the owner has built. This is pervious pavers that he's used at another project not too far from the site, and this is a shot of the brick that would be used at the base and at various points in the building. Here are a few examples of the awnings intended to be used at the stairs, and just some basic railings that would be used to match things found within the district. And then I also have here some drawings. This is a roof plan showing, a lot of this was presented at the PD hearing, but this would be a roof plan showing where all the mechanical equipment would be stored. Here are some drawings of the details of the building, showing a window within the brick, showing a precast sill. Here showing the recessed, windows recessed within stucco, within brick, and within the hardy. And here are some overall building sections. So using a TPO roof, showing a parapet cap all the way through, down through the, this is a section through the hardy, coming down through, showing the open web steel joists, coming down through the recessed windows, showing this awning canopy detail, which would be a metal frame and metal clad, and then showing the brick with the details there. Again, here is details through the stucco, same detail for the awning, and then this is at the front door, at the main entry, and then this is at the main stair tower. Showing the open air stair. I think that concludes my portion of the presentation. Yep. Thank you, guys. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservations. Staff's finding that this application is consistent with the Hyde Park Design Guidelines. On page 4 of your staff report, we have some conditions that were associated with this request. Through his presentation, he went through a couple of them. Part of this presentation, as I stated, was established through the PD process. He went through that. He gave you an overview of the PD. The PD approval and what you saw tonight is consistent. There was no modifications that I saw to the plan as approved. Moving forward, at the first level on the front facade, we were asking for additional transparency from the primary street, and he had incorporated some fenestration on that. There also is a pedestrian entrance off that, so the street doesn't turn us back, or excuse me, the structure doesn't turn us back on the street. In the PD process, the footprint was established, the massing was established, and the vehicular access all was discussed and approved through that process. One of the items that we were addressing internally was the cladding of the storage underneath the structure. As part of the PD, there was a masonry wall that was approved by City Council that has to go around the perimeter of the site, except for that large trees in the back. They said that they could bring in a different element in there to complement the tree and not have a negative effect on the tree. So in working with the design of the wall, the perimeter wall, that's up for debate today, but he put some slats in there to allow airflow and to soften just a 6-foot high wood fence, masonry fence. I believe all the other items were addressed, and I'm here to answer any questions as the project goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Is there any public comment for or against this project present to date? Hearing none and seeing none, we will continue with the commissioners asking questions. Who would like to start? Sir?
Hi, thanks for your presentation. I guess I'll go, as I was listening to your presentation, I was writing down comments, and it's become clear that several of the things I had commenting on is already, it's water under the bridge and something I can't comment on. So I have to go through these carefully. Ron brought up just now, the transparency in the wall, and I guess the question is, what's the point of the wall between uses if it's transparent? I guess there's, maybe some discussion to be had about that. One of the things we're charged with, obviously, is the material palette and maintaining what's known in historic districts and the guidelines as a very high level of quality craftsmanship, workmanship, and material quality. And I'm wondering if, obviously there's some brick in there and there's some hardy siding in there. There's an awful lot of just flat stucco with some scores. And I'm wondering if there's been discussions or thoughts or the potential for, say, the corner tower, the stair tower, or other aspects of the facade, particularly facing the street, maybe having a slightly higher quality material involved, whether it be a rain screen ceramic panel or a zinc panel or metal panels even, because it's reflective of the quote unquote modern architecture, but it's just flat stucco walls with punched windows. I'd almost encourage a slightly more aggressive use of quote unquote modern materials, because it's supposed to be of its time and its age, and I'm not sure we should be detailing historic details in a quote unquote modern building. It just kind of seems like a clash of intentions. What else? I guess that's it. I mean, when you build new construction in a historic district, you want the new building to be of its time and place, and not. And I understand this is very square and blocky, and it's there's no gable roofs, there's no hips, there's no nothing, and it's a modern geometry, but I don't see the materials and the level of transparency and I guess the level of craftsmanship and facade play that's reflective of a high level of craftsmanship and quality. And I'm having a little difficulty with that. I don't have anything else. Mr. Myers?
Can you go to the roof plan, please?
Apologize, bear with me here.
It's okay. Well, I'll ask my question while you're
Go
looking.
ahead, yeah.
There's probably no reason for both stairs to go to the roof. Is that correct? You only need, it's not habitable space, so you only need one exit. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So which one goes to the, is it the one at the back or the one at the front?
I think the one at the rear, I believe, is higher than the one at the front. Let me see if I can pull up the. No, take that back. One front's higher.
The front tower's a little higher, looks like.
So this would be the stair facing.
So that'll be the one that goes to the roof?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So you've developed a tower that is not unlike the towers on the vernacular frame buildings on either side.
I'm sorry?
You've developed a tower at that corner that is not unlike the sort of higher elements of the vernacular frame buildings that are to the, to either side of this building. Right. Despite the fact that it's behind the sign, but okay, fine. And I think Commissioner Prokop has justifiably mentioned that maybe we could get a little bit better material, certainly on the front of the building.
Sure.
Rather than the just simple flat stucco. And then I was questioning whether the flat stucco gets even a different window detail. But these are questions because the front elevation, for what I conceive as a background building, right? And so, like, it is not unlike some of the sort of undistinguished vernacular frame structures that we have in all of our historic districts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I'm suggesting that maybe something better than painted stucco, but really, I think that you have not put funny little caps on the top of the building, or tried to embellish it in any way to make it more than what it really is. So I think that is perfectly acceptable. There are window frames with no glass in the facing the garage. Is that the way that works? Or are are those glazed openings, or?
Well, no, yeah, the intent was in order to maintain some sense of vernacular, and so that they weren't just open openings, and to create some transparency. The idea was to non-glazed framed openings, correct? So that at least for pedestrians walking by, it would feel like it had some sort of relationship to the neighboring structures. But I don't think putting, glazed windows there would make a whole lot of sense looking into where cars are parked. So.
Right, and the windows you have specified are aluminum clad wood windows. Is that correct? Or they're?
Yeah, and that's something that we were considering. We've been talking. The windows we were looking at were Pella windows, and we've been looking at whether or not it made sense because of their location and them being up so high, whether we could use a vinyl product. I know that that's not looked highly upon, but. The idea, we were, looking at wood clad, single hung.
I would have to look at my fellow commissioners for an approval on vinyl, but certainly the divisions in the upper lights will be expressed on the. Are those true divided lights? Or at least would the mullions and muntins on those upper, the upper portions of the windows, will those be on the outside of the glass?
Yeah, well, that was the intent. Yeah, they wouldn't be.
They're not sandwiched in between.
No.
Yeah,
no.
that's beyond the pale. We don't do that.
Right? No. I mean, the idea was to use something representative of what was shown here in this photo. That's been being used elsewhere in the district, but no, they would have relief, and it would be, something that's shown like here. Now, I know this is a 6-panel, but there are, it would be something more in the line of this.
And what are the dimensions of those window openings? Or?
These are 3, 5?
3 by 5?
Mhm.
Okay, no further questions, thank you.
I have a few questions, sir, and we can leave this elevation up to begin with. On your hardy clad elevation, I understand what you're doing with your windows and the window trim. And on your brick cladding, I understand what you're doing with the windows there, as well as with the sill treatment that you have there with this cast sill. So what we're looking at is in this brick and in this planked area, if you will, bringing forward into your contemporary architecture some very traditional details that we would typically see, or should typically see, everywhere. But that's neither here or there. But the one thing I do know from your sections, though, is that you have all of your windows set well back from the building face. On your stucco walls, basically, you have windows and other fenestration devices that are just punched openings that have no definition. Now, typically in a stucco building, we probably don't have much definition in terms of the jambs or the heads. But since we have defined sill elements elsewhere on the building, have you considered at all having some sort of a projected sill element for these punched windows in your stucco wall to help ease that aesthetic to what we might consider the more traditional architecture that we see in Hyde Park?
Well, that was a thought, and I think the reason why it ended up looking the way it is and not having any specific details around those particular openings is that I felt, I think when we were looking at it, we felt that it may have competed too much with the language. I think the idea was, because this was a larger building and the massing of it was pretty large, we were trying to break down the massing of the building a little bit. And so the idea was almost in a way to create sort of these 3 distinct but related languages. And so, you know, it's not that we are opposed to doing some sort of detailing, but I guess the thought process was to create some sort of, you know, distinct language for the stucco, distinct language for this corner tower element here. And so that was kind of the thought process behind it.
See, I could see easily the necessity for, you know, breaking up the large mass of the building into pieces that have their certain relationship, and you marry them together. To me, I would think that certain very minor detail elements, such as a sill as example, would be something that could be used to tie all the pieces together in a very simple way.
Sure.
Related to this, I understand what you're doing with the brick base. And it seems to me a little bit incongruous here that there's something broken here on this elevation. Because I see the mailroom and the front entrance being clad in brick. And if you turn around the corner, you've got a little piece of brick wall that goes all the way up the side of the building.
Yeah, I think.
Was there any consideration at all to brick clad that entire stair from the get-go?
Yes. I think what I was trying to do, I felt like it was almost becoming too, well, I think it started to become almost overly heavy with brick. And I know that within the district might sound a little bit absurd, but I felt like what I was trying to do is create little hints of brick and weave the brick in and out. And so have this element of brick here, brick here. If we go around the building, you'll see in the various elevations. Actually, I have elevations here that show, that sort of pull the trees away. So you'll see here in this elevation, oh, these are really dark.
We could read that.
here, so. The kind of idea was that, you know, you never really experience a building from a flat elevation, you kind of experience it from an angle, so, you know, this is the south portion of the building, but the idea is the brick turns and then it kind of comes up and goes up that stair tower and comes around and it comes back and then it goes up the other element. So it was just kind of these hints of brick that, you know, just give you the essence of the brick but don't dominate the building. But you know, you bring a really valid point, because this stair tower is clad in brick, and it might not, you know, be that absurd to think that this stair
Well,
tower
on the
is-
same vein, you know, take a look at the stair tower on your east side as well.
Mhm.
I mean, what you've done is you've continued on the ground plane level that brick around that corner. Perhaps that's what's necessary on this side
Mhm.
here in your front as well.
Sure.
Not necessarily the whole of the tower, but bring that around the corner to meet its sister brick wall on the other side.
Right. I agree, yeah.
Then I could see how you might take the remaining of this tower as a differently detailed stucco assembly in a different color. I think that's something that could work to your benefit, because the piece here that's missing is how do you tie these three different sections together in your primary elevation. In your primary elevation, I see a missing piece.
Sure.
I see a missing piece. The last time I would like to discuss with you is the nature of your perimeter fence.
Mhm.
Now, the perimeter fence was a conditioned part of your site plan under the PD review. Please correct me if I'm wrong or not, but this fence was an item optioned by you and your client, or is this required as a separation between uses?
This was an item required, a use-to-use buffer, because this was residential, and then the uses to the north and the south, well, at least to the north were, and to the east are commercial. And so it was required by the city to put a 6-foot wall as a use-to-use buffer. And so that, our preference was to do maybe a wood fence, but the request was to put a 6-foot CMU wall. My feeling, and after talking with Brent, we thought that was a little bit excessive to brick in and wall in this building. And so the reason why I decided that's why we wanted to kind of break it down a little bit by maybe softening it and make it a little bit more transparent with
Yeah, the
some horizontals.
transparent lattice work that you have there.
Mhm.
Have you had a chance to discuss with the city this perimeter wall with the transparent lattice work yet?
No, I guess not.
The reason why I asked the question is, you know, they're thinking a solid masonry wall, and you're proposing something at this point
That's very
which
cool.
is not.
In the approval that went forward, the site plan that was delineated showed the location and the height of the fence. The design would be left up to this governing body.
Well, it's not a fence, it's a wall.
It's a wall.
It's a wall. There's a distinguishing between the fact that it's a wall and a fence, but a wall with holes in it is
A fence.
it's fence. Yeah,
Well, the design is up for discussion tonight. That's why I wanted to put into the record.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. We can discuss that in a little bit. I don't really have a big issue with the design. I think it actually is an improvement over your standard block wall.
right, I understand.
That is all I have for question at this time. Is there any other further question from my fellow commissioners? Sir, you have 5 minutes allotted to yourself for rebuttal. One more question?
I'm just going to, no,
Commentary.
it's commentary, so it's later, excuse me.
You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
did you have?
No.
Okay. No rebuttal. I just, happy to, discuss the options in terms of the perimeter wall. And, I can talk to Brent and we can, he will be happy to build a 6-foot wall. If that's what is required by the city. I feel like it would kind of be a disservice to the area, and be a little bit aesthetically unappealing. I feel like this might be a better treatment and provide a little bit more transparency and a little bit more aesthetically appealing feature for the site.
Yeah, hey, I'm Brent Balch, the owner and developer and the builder. I just want to say, I mean, we're open to materials changes on the elevation. You mentioned metal, the tower being brick. It's irrelevant to me in terms of, I think aesthetically they'll all work. As a landscape architect, with that wall, the 6-foot wall, 6-foot block wall it's a 6-foot block wall. I mean, it's kind of tight areas. To me, we still have the wall. We could bring maybe more block, less the panels that are kind of the inserts. Maybe we could shrink those a little bit to bring a little bit more wall, but a 6-foot wall is just it's a 6-foot wall, block. We would incorporate those materials in there to complement the building. I just think it would make the whole site more cohesive aesthetically. But if you guys want a 6-foot block wall, I'll do a 6-foot block wall. We'll paint it, we'll make it, attractive with landscaping and whatnot. We can deal with that. That's not something that, likewise, that stair tower in the front, I think that you guys talking about it, I mean, brick, probably be nice. It would look nice. We were breaking up that big stucco stairwell with some metal awnings. That's how we're going to try to introduce another element to it to break up, so it's not just big stucco like Alex talked about. It's basically 3 sections of the building, and we were going to try to sprinkle the metal throughout the horizontal, the long horizontal awning across the front. That would be metal as well. So we were trying to mix in, all the different elements that you see around Hyde Park and in a more contemporary building, of course. But we're wide open to that stairwell being, it could be any number of materials, I think, and work. So just so you're aware, I'm open to it, but whatever you guys would think is the best for this part of Hyde Park.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Nope, we're good. Thank you.
I close this public hearing at this time, and I open up the table for discussion by my fellow commissioners. Who would like to begin? Go.
I actually think that the detailing is pretty appropriate around the stucco, that the sill does not need to partake of the same, it does not need to speak the same language as the more traditional detailing in other areas. So that's just my feeling on that.
You're talking about the middle part.
Yeah, the middle part, that the strictly punched windows are, I think, perfectly acceptable there.
I'll just reiterate that I think I'd love for at least the front elevation and wrapping the 2 corners along the front elevation to have just higher end materials all in all. Even if the stair tower was brick, it could be a black brick. It could be an alternate color brick. Also have a small. It's like the building. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's these flat geometric surfaces, sort of modern, but then it's got double hung, true divided light windows like you'd find in a historic building. And then they're all the same window, and they're all the same window no matter what kind of material it's in. It's all the same window punched around. I'd almost like to see like this corner piece instead of, and I'm throwing out ideas. I'm not telling you how to design the building. I'm really throwing out ideas that the hardywood piece could be metal panel, and the stair tower could be, you know, a porcelain panel, and each could have a different shape, size window in it, so that it's not so repetitive, and that, you know, each object would have its own family of detailing and flavor and size of window, and but I'd at least like to see the front facade have a lot less stucco and a lot more a higher end material. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed, because it happens in the backs of buildings, and, you know, once you get past a certain point on a facade, you know, materials change in the backyard, in the, you know, in the side yards. But particularly in the street, if it's trying to be a modern building, and it should be a modern building and of its time, then the material should be more modern, in my opinion. Anybody else agree, disagree?
I'm fine with the hardy board, with the hardy plank. It makes a reference. Clearly, it's a modern material because of its dimension and its material, and it's also a sort of it's a very common material, and I don't mind that in a background building. I mean, this is not, you know, we don't historic districts are not made up of, you know, every building is not
It's
a
not a
masterpiece.
I understand.
Since we're talking about this, I think the scoring on the tower could be looked at if it doesn't turn into brick. And I think they have made an attempt to provide sufficient variety to meet the common requirements for the district. And so I think that it needs a little fine tuning, but I think it is something that certainly that staff can work on.
I agree.
So and whatever and I feel like we're working towards approval here with some conditions that perhaps staff can.
I just wish it had gone further, personally. It had gone further. It's a modern building in a historic district, and it should be of its time and place, and it's too much of a hybrid. There's too many things that are like, oh yeah, this is from the past, but this is a modern building, but we're using this kind of detailing from the past, and this window dividing from the past.
And it changes over there.
Yeah, I want it to go further. I want it to go further modern. And I just feel like it's kind of like it's halfway between. It's just like a clash of two different things, and it wants to be one or the other.
One or the other, and more consistent at it.
Yeah.
I think what's lacking here is the consistency of the materiality. Now, I can understand how the major sections and the major portions change their materials. Okay. That is a very, very contemporary device. That this is not so large a building as to swallow a city block, where you can have very, very major statements on various corners. This is still a very compact building on a compact lot. And I think that there is a certain degree of, you're going to select some materials, fine, at least use them in a consistent manner.
I think we also need to give some direction in terms of the wall. And I think that
I like the wall.
everybody likes the wall?
I like the
Good.
wall. Everybody
Good.
likes the wall, except for the fact that I don't know, why is the wall mandated by the city? Why is it mandated by the city and not a fence? Why is a 6-foot wall mandated?
It's a use separation.
But if it's transparent, is there any separation? Are you separating anything if it's just transparent?
Well,
It's
that's
not-
why I
it's
brought
not-
up, that's why I brought up the question, if it
I
has
mean,
been
because I like the
brought
design.
forth.
I do like the design.
You know, I think, I would like to see that design. Now, whether or not the city of Tampa will
It seems
accept
to
it,
be-
it's another matter.
It seems to be within our purview to allow
Yeah, I don't
that.
think they're gonna look at it, it's up to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the fence as we see it right now, that perimeter, fence, separation wall, whatever you want to call it, I think, for me, moves forward the way it is.
Okay.
And if there's a hiccup on the city side, then perhaps we'll end up seeing this thing again. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's consistent
But I
with the
think it's
modern
something
design.
that could be coordinated
Yeah.
with staff as well, too.
Okay.
I think it does a great job softening up, what could be, because it's tightness, a really harsh site. I
Okay.
think they've spent some time with that.
Anything else?
All right.
Would anyone like to make a motion on this?
Dan's gonna do this.
Got to get to the other side of my sheet. Okay, move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 22-273 for the property located at 330 Hyde Park Avenue with the following conditions. That the final design for the for the materials of the front elevation in terms of their material quality shall be coordinated with staff because, based on the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Historic District design guidelines for the city of Tampa for the following reasons. The orientation and site coverage and the trim and detail link old and new. The facade proportions and window proportions do so as well.
I'll second the motion.
Before we proceed, question to the applicant. Do you understand and accept the conditions as stated?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. All those in favor for this project, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. In case ARC 22-273, certificate of appropriateness with conditions is approved.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our commission meeting for this evening. Thank you very much.